right, welcome to the next episode of Voice AI podcast, where we discuss the future of voice AI. Today, I'm super excited to host Nicole Kyle, who is the managing director and co-founder of CMP Research. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited because Nicole, as we were just chatting, she covers what's a large gap that maybe also exists in my podcast. I usually invite technologists and founders who are super excited about technology, are imagining these wild, things that are going to happen in the next 2 years. But then there is the reality where there is the buyer who has a different sort of perspective on reality. And what Nicole covers is this. She's like the bridge between these two folks, right? So with that, actually, let me introduce what CMP Research does. And if I say anything wrong, please correct me. I took this from ChatGPT. CMP Research is a research and advisory firm focused on customer experience and contact centers. It provides data-driven insights, benchmarking, and strategic guidance to help organizations improve CX operations and technology decisions. How about that?
It's perfect.
Yeah. Anything you would like to add to it, or it's?
No, I think it's great. CMP Research, for those who don't know, is the research and advisory arm of customer management practice, which puts on Customer Contact Week and CXO exchanges. And we have a few different divisions at the company. But yes, I head up the research and advisory group.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have visibility into every company that is building voice AI products these days.
Yes, and we actually just wrapped up our Prism, which is our kind of MarketScape framework for VoiceBot / conversational IVR, and the results haven't published yet, but will be published when this goes live. I assume.
Yeah. And can we discuss some of it in the podcast?
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to talk about some of the interesting findings, kind of at a high level. Maybe I won't get into specific companies, but should I just roll with it? So one of the interesting things with voice AI right now is and one of the ways that voice AI, VoiceBot, conversational IVR, whatever word we use, differs from a lot of the other tech categories, customer contact and focuses on, and CX focuses on, is that there are so many applications for voice AI that at a company are outside customer contact and outside CX. So for this particular category, if I put on my practitioner hat or my buyer hat, internally, the politics of this purchase are a lot more complicated than if you're buying a real-time agent assist tool, or even customer analytics may be a bit of a gray area, but certainly telephony or your CRM as well, maybe a few stakeholders, but not as many. Whereas with voice AI, arguably every executive in an organization has some use case for some version of it. So where in other tech categories you see truly fit for purpose, and a lot of the buyer focus being on the truly fit for purpose solutions that are out there, they specialize in customer contact, specialize in CX. What we see from a marketplace perspective with voice AI is that big tech players that support all types of tech infrastructure, IT infrastructure, are equally, if not more so, top of mind, because it's not just the head of customer contact, building the case for a voice bot. It's also, the head of retail, or it's the IT help desk, the CIO, and that makes the purchase just ever so more complicated in some ways.
Interesting. Why is that the case, Nicole? What can you describe maybe the different use cases that these organizations are interested in? And are you saying that when they need to purchase something, the scope is so wide that everyone has their own use case in the company, and so they want one all-in-one solution that covers everything? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely part of it. So you can have like competing, I guess, agendas, understandably, within an organization. And when we think about different use cases, there's the very obvious customer contact or CX use case where a voice bot, voice AI will replace an IVR, or it will, take on certain types of contacts, customer service interactions that before voice AI, a live agent would have handled. But outside of customer contact, even if you just look at a COO or head of operations, they might be looking for, hey, VoiceBot could also be a really helpful augment to our internal data processing team, or any business function that needs to dictate something, or could get faster by dictating something rather than typing it out themselves. Kind of focusing on the transcription side more than maybe the like generative intelligence always. HR could even have a use case, right, where a good voice bot could be a helpful onboarding solution or a helpful new hire solution across your workforce. From an IT help desk perspective, and sometimes an IT help desk like reports into customer contact, or many times it still reports into the CIO, CTO. The voice bot could replace that IT help desk or augment it. From even like just a digital workplace perspective, we see, the whole background to this is organizations are under more cost pressure. So anywhere that tech can give you a little bit more of a lift, and that lift could also be on employee experience, right? Maybe with people working remotely, engineers have questions, rather than having to reach out to everyone having to reach out to the same middle manager at the same time, can we have an internal knowledge base with a voice bot? And this is all like very future of, but these are big investments that companies are making. So I think they're stepping back and they're looking at, do we need a fit for purpose customer contact solution, or do we need actually a voice AI partner who can support across all of those use cases and plug into our existing infrastructure? So it was a bit of a long-winded answer, but.
Yeah, no, I think I understand it. No, I think the core thing is that really, there are two ways to look at voice agents, right? One is saying that, hey, it's just an interface. It's just a communication interface on top of like solutions, right? Anything that you can do with text, you could arguably do over voice as well. So what's important is the underlying solution, and then you can put this voice interface on top of it. And then there is another way of looking at it and saying like the voice agent is the solution, right? Mm-hmm. And I think like the industry is starting to go in that direction, that the voice agent. But I'm having a trouble understanding actually, is that the solution, or because it's really an interface, and once you have a really good voice conversational sort of technology, you should be able to put it on any solution, and then it will cover pretty much all the use cases, these different use cases that are internally in enterprises. But anyway, interesting sort of concept. Okay, and Nicole, from what you see, what are there is a lot of hype around AI agents, voice AI agents. What are the more sort of technologies that are going to be sort of thriving in 25, right? From enterprise perspective, what is actually going to be deployed? What's not ready for 25? Like, how do you think about it?
Yeah, it's a great question.
You know?
It's a hard question, but an important one. So even taking a step back a little bit, we know, we just concluded this analysis actually, that from an executive perspective, looking at CXOs, heads of customer contact, heads of customer care, and so forth, their number one most urgent priority for the next 2 years is increased automation of processes and contacts. So just that alone signals, okay, the only way you automate, you need great AI to help you do that. The second most urgent priority is increasing customer adoption of self-service or automated service. You might call it digital service, whatever phrase you use. And it's great AI tools that are going to, ensure a customer not just seeks out self-service, because we're actually seeing customers doing that at like a steadily increasing rate. But when it comes to actually adopting and not abandoning the channel and resolving in that channel, the way you increase adoption and get customers to come back to self-service over and over again is obviously delivering a personalized experience and an experience that gets to issue resolution. So it's great AI that's going to help you there. When we think about those two priorities and then the different types of AI that could support them, the biggest, I guess, tech categories where we see executives saying, hey, we plan to increase investment in the next 2 years. It's kind of depending on how you cut it by industry and so on, it's a little bit of a mix. But self-service AI, like fully AI supported chatbots is a big one. Customer analytics and insights is another big one. These are roughly in order. And then real-time agent assist / co-pilot is another one. And then voice AI kind of rounds out that top 4. And it makes sense, right? Because so many of these execs are looking at, I want to move more of our customer service to chat. I want to move more of it to voice so that my live agents can deal with more complex things. And that all kind of very nicely corresponds to those 4 categories.
Interesting. So chatbot sort of self-service is first because we all understand text is easier than voice, right? Because voice is still the industry is struggling to make it natural, to make it fast and all of that, right? Is that correct to say? That's why chatbot is first?
It's one of the reasons. There's a couple of other reasons. I guess in no particular order, but another one is just from an executive mindset perspective in customer contact and CX. You have to remember customer contact and execs and CXOs are by and large, they are people. They don't tend to be ex-CIOs. They don't tend to be ex-CTOs. They're not by and large technologists. And that's great because customer care and CX is at its core a people business. What that also can sometimes result in, I think probably net positively, is a little being relatively more conservative around either removing live agents from phone being the most popular channel or voice being the most popular channel, and wanting to maybe try it out in a different channel first to see if customers actually gravitate towards automation. So that's I think why chatbot it is number one. That's one reason, the reason you mentioned. And then another reason too is just from a maturity perspective. I think that's what you were getting at, the automated chatbots, while they're becoming more truly generative and they're starting to get they're starting to become agentic. We think of AI as a spectrum. So they're evolving down that spectrum. Chatbots have been around so much longer that they're evolving at a slightly faster rate relative to voice. But there's a lot of interest in voice right now too. I mean, going back to that prism I was mentioning, one of the reasons we did that prism is we were just getting so many requests for insights around conversational IVR and voice, because people also potentially want to be a first mover, right? If they can deliver a better voice experience than anyone else, that could give them an advantage.
Interesting. Yeah, I think one of the other reasons perhaps is that when customer use voice communication, there is usually more, the request is more urgent and perhaps, or there is emotion involved. And so you're more careful, when you put an AI there, whether it's the right place to meet that customer, right? That's I think that I think that's one of the important reasons there. But anyway, this is very interesting. So
can I add another thing there too?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, just super quickly. And to build on your point, the other thing you think about is the gap, rightly or wrongly, and we could debate that probably in a separate conversation. A lot of customer care execs and CXOs are optimizing for, we want the automated channel to feel just like the live experience. And for better or for worse, the gap between a live chat and an automated chat is smaller than a live phone call and an automated phone call, at least by and large for now. We're seeing voice AI improve every day and quickly. So I think that's another factor in their calculus.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. If you ran a test of a live agent and live AI agent, it's hard to distinguish between these two, right? It's just
Yes.
text-based, and like I think ChatGPT can pretend to be a person quite well over text.
Yeah.
But if you did it over voice, it would be like way easier to detect which one is, because it's the voice. There is the technology is still like being developed there to meet the bar. Yeah, I think that makes sense. You mentioned so chatbots and then more automation using AI. Did you mean the customer facing automation or like post call automation, the RPA and everything that involves it?
Yeah, everything. But particularly coming back to that comment around like the number one most urgent priority, that scopes in just automation full stop. It's both for internal processes, whether that's
Mm.
pre-service or pre-transaction, during the transaction or contact, or post. And of course, it includes actually automating the contacts too. But I mean, this goes back to like the increased cost pressure I talked about. And customer care, specifically at CXOs, they said reducing costs was like their sixth most urgent priority last year when we did
Thanks.
this analysis. Yeah. And it went out of a list of like 19, 20, and it went up
Okay.
to number 5 this year. And from just a scaling
Yeah.
perspective, it like went into a much more urgent zone on our scale. So the cost pressure is real. And I think that, just to summarize it, like customer care and CXOs, they're looking for whatever efficiency they can gain, even from an operational perspective internally, call tagging, transcription, going back to real-time agent assist and so forth.
Wow. Okay. All right. And when you look at real-time assist, which I think was fourth in your list or third.
Yes.
Yeah.
Third or fourth. Yeah.
So how is it? Is it cost cutting or is it like
Great.
productivity? Like, how do you think about that?
Great question. So the crux of this influx and in prioritization of we need to invest in real-time agent assist is really a function of a few things, but probably the biggest thing is, as organizations automate more contacts, more service requests, maybe inbound sales and so forth, they automate those things. The things they're automating are relatively lower complexity, probably higher volume. To summarize, to oversimplify, maybe they are the simpler contacts. So what gets automated and moved to self-service is simpler stuff. It's still really high value stuff a lot of the time, but just simpler stuff. So what's left over for your live agents is now you have a pool of contacts, customer care tickets and so forth, that are the average complexity is higher because all the simple stuff has been moved to automation.
Mm.
So what that means is now the workload for a human agent in a call center, customer contact group, CX group is higher. It's higher complexity, the average contact.
Mm.
And that yields not just risks around like burnout and things, but it also means that as you're now onboarding new human agents, you're hiring people, you need to ramp them faster. And it would be naive to say, oh, just hire a different skill profile, right? I mean, that becomes more expensive, all of that, harder to find that talent. So execs are looking to real-time agent assist as a way to bridge that gap, right? Like a good real-time agent assist tool can help a new hire feel more confident more quickly, like reducing that ramp time, as we call it, for employees. And it can again, augment any either skill gap or just any complexity challenges that without that tool, you'd run into a lot more rework and escalation. So I think that's the biggest kind of dynamic we see at play and why we see assist becoming huge. The other thing is real-time agent assist is a great way to kind of use AI and automation to experiment on your own team before rolling out a certain AI-based tool to a customer.
Mm.
Now, it depends on what tool you're using. Can you use the same AI or company or vendor for your real-time assist tool that you use for your customer-facing knowledge base? Maybe, maybe not. Many times you can, but that's another kind of benefit. But I think the first thing I said, certainly like the big shift.
Yeah, that's such an interesting insight. Actually, I haven't thought about it because I have heard that. I have heard actually as a complaint that the real-time assist is useful only for during the ramp time, because once the agent is ramped, they probably like see all of the questions, and then it's less useful for them. But if you flip that and say, actually, that's the most important part of the application of it's going to reduce your ramp time, and so that's a huge cost saving for the call center, right? Super interesting.
Absolutely. And depending on the tool, it's huge, and it's why I think there's such an opportunity there on the AI side, and then also, innovations coming that will really improve the buyer experience, because you also have like the best tools or the better tools. They're going to be able to keep learning. This tool will just get better over time, and it'll be able to help an agent who's been there for 25 years and an agent who's been there for 5 weeks. But I understand your point, but that's why they're kind of willing to take that on the chin. It's because largely like customer contact groups, they're not hiring that much right now. It's like the minority who are hiring for live people right now.
Yeah, very cool. This is very interesting. Yeah, thanks for sharing these insights, Nicole.
Sure.
I'm very interested in speech-to-speech translation as a use case. Is that like where would it fit in the top 20 priorities that you see from the industry?
So do you mean specifically like speech to text or text to speech, or do you mean like language translation?
Yeah, language translation, like speech to speech translation, right? So real-time translation.
Yeah, great question. So we actually see that, and maybe it becomes so integratable or such a big priority that we do break it out as its own category one day. But for now, we actually see that as being more of it's been a feature of some of the other categories I mentioned. So, for example, like customer analytics and insights, a lot of those tools, and some of them partner, some of them have their proprietary speech-to-speech translation. But that's part of it. When we think about real-time assist, that can also be part of it, right? Because this is about help on a real-time contact, and maybe you're at a BPO and you've encountered someone who speaks a language that's different from you. And certainly, obviously, it's huge with voice AI. So maybe we will get to the point where we start like assessing the component parts of the big voice bot kind of category. But that's how I think about that now. And I mean, certainly from a cost savings perspective, if you can get a voice bot, voice AI that can do speech to speech translation, that could save you a lot in localization costs or outsourcing costs that you would have otherwise incurred.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Very cool. So, Nicole, I guess the last part of our conversation, where do you think this is all headed in the next 2 years, right? I think the easy answer is that more automation. Obviously, businesses are always incentivized to do automation, cut costs. It's always going to happen with technology. But I'm very interested in understanding what is going to be deployed. 25, we sort of covered some of it. When we look at 26, 27, where do you think this is all headed?
Yeah, it's hard to predict the future. It's so funny. As a future of work researcher, I always say I hate making predictions, but I have to do it a lot for work anyway. So as data backed as I can be, but no, more seriously, the one thing I'm fairly certain, as certain as one can be, of is that in 2 years, in customer care, in CX, AI and automation will create jobs. Will it create net the jobs that AI replaces? Will it create more jobs? I don't know. But even as we just look historically, any major technological innovation over the long run is creating jobs. They're not necessarily the same jobs. I'm not saying people will need more frontline agents by any means, human agents. But when we think about data cleaning, and when we think about data governance, and we think about process governance, and we think about customer analytics teams, I mean, the AI, low code, no code customer analytics tools might be able to do the analysis, but who's going to prompt that tool? Who's going to interpret the analysis? Who will take that data and make decisions with it? I think the customer care experience will become even more important. and more of a differentiator. So that's one thing I feel more confident of. And then the other thing where we're headed is I really think these tools are going to empower CX and customer contact to be even more of revenue generating functions, right? That line between like sales, marketing, and customer care and CX kind of increasingly blurring, coming together. We've already seen that for a number of years, but I just think these tools help that, because the more visibility you have into the customer journey with like a better analytics tool, the more likely you are as a customer care agent to know, when to try to upsell, cross-sell someone, and so forth. So I think we'll see lines blurring. And that also speaks to like how these jobs will change, but not necessarily, how they'll go extinct.
Yeah, I think that's like, especially the first one, I can relate to it so well because I've been thinking about it a lot. And there's something we built internally that I'm very excited about. And as I think about like how this is going to be used in a call center setup, there is going to be a lot of prompting involved in this, right? Like understanding how LLMs work, not in the details, but you need to like there must be people who manage this bots, right? Like, and how do you manage them? Well, you need to understand how to prompt them, right? I mean, and how to how they consume information and knowledge base, and how you should all like manage this entire thing. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very different, but super important. Yeah.
Oh, and if I can have one last thing, I know we're coming up on time, but I also know / think maybe not by 2026, but in the future, certainly, companies are going to have to start thinking about how their tech stack integrates with like individuals' own tech and agents. So, I mean, I could maybe do it now, but in a year, like arguably I set myself a goal, Nicole, I'm going to have my own little personal assistant agent that I've coded, maybe using my own open source model or a low code tool or some like cheaper direct to consumer version of some of these tools. And when my little agent, calls into a voice bot, can those things connect and work together? Like the tech stack and integrations are about to get even more complicated. And I know no one wants to hear that because integrations are already hard, even in like old school or even now. So that's something to kind of try and get ahead of.
Integration agents.
Yeah, honestly.
That's cool. That's going to be the new job, right? Integration agent.
Yeah.
Prompt agent. Okay. Sounds good.
Love it.
This is I love it. I love this conversation. Well, Nicole, thanks so much for coming and sharing your insights. I'm looking forward to your analysis of the document, like the research document. And yeah, again, thank you.
Thank you.